Hi, my name is Tori and I am a doctor of physical therapy who specializes in pelvic dysfunction, which means I treat things that can go wrong around the pelvis. And today I wanted to make a requested video that really goes into the differences between muscle pain and nerve pain. This video was actually requested a while ago, but I didn't feel like I could make it at the time because I had never experienced nerve pain. But unfortunately / ironically, I have been experiencing nerve pain in the form of nerve healing for the last 5 months or so. I injured a pelvic nerve of all things and have been recovering. And so I feel like I have a really intimate understanding of what nerve pain feels like. And I feel like I finally have the words to describe the differences between nerve pain and muscle pain. So muscle pain to me is very familiar. It's something that you recognize, and it's also very easy to describe. The words that you use to describe muscle pain actually feel like they fit. And when you talk to your friends or your family about your muscle pain, they validate your experience. They've also had muscle pain. They can understand what you're saying. I also feel like muscle pain tends to follow a pattern. There's an activity that you do that makes it worse, and usually resting will make it feel better. And finally, I feel as though muscle pain is pretty easy to manage when it comes to pain management. What I mean by that is I feel as though there are options that are available and they tend to work. They might not totally get rid of the pain, but they make it feel better. Things like Motrin, like ice, like heat. Pain management techniques for muscle pain tend to actually manage the pain. So to unpack everything that I just outlined a little bit more, descriptors for muscle pain. I feel as though muscle pain tends to feel like soreness or tenderness or stiffness or like a dull, achy sensation or even a sharp sensation, and that when you use those words, you truly mean those words. That language feels like it does a good job describing what you're experiencing. And when you say that to your friend, when you say like, hey, my back feels sore, your friend is like, oh yeah, me too, I've also had a sore back. I know that feeling. And then talking about following a pattern, me, for instance, sometimes my back will get sore and kind of tender when I've been on my feet all day. I've done an activity where I haven't really given myself a chance to rest. I've been standing, and by the end of the day, I've got a little bit of that muscle back pain, tender kind of feeling. But I know that when I go to bed, when I rest, when I give myself a breather, I'll wake up in the morning feeling better. I might not feel 100% better, but I'll definitely feel improvement. And back to pain management, for me, if I'm having muscle pain, I just take ibuprofen. Whether that's Motrin or Advil or another over-the-counter medication, I can take ibuprofen and I tend to feel better. So that's muscle pain. Nerve pain is unfamiliar. Nerve pain is really hard to describe. It feels like the language to describe it doesn't really exist. So you kind of fish for words and you know that the language is failing you, that those words don't quite describe what you're feeling, but they're the closest thing that you can find, so you use them anyway. And you might talk to your friends and family about the experience that you're having, but unless they've had nerve pain, they can't really validate it. It sounds bizarre to them, it sounds unusual, they don't really know what you're talking about. And nerve pain can follow a pattern. Some people's nerve pain is aggravated by activity and improves with rest, or is aggravated by rest and improves with certain activities. But other people's nerve pain is random. It doesn't really follow a pattern. It's hard to tell what's making it better, what's making it worse. So I would say that nerve pain is less patterned than muscle pain. And finally, pain management. I feel as though nerve pain is much trickier, much more difficult to manage pain-wise. And I don't think that typical interventions like ibuprofen, ice, heat, rest, that sort of thing always make nerve pain feel better. So I think it can be a lot more challenging through that lens. And then to kind of crack open everything that I just outlined in the realm of nerve pain. Like I said, nerve pain feels unfamiliar and it's really hard to describe. And it's bizarre. And so nerve pain can take the form of temperature changes, like it's so cold that it hurts, or it's so hot that it hurts, or it feels like a burning sensation, or it feels like coals, that sort of thing. It can take the form of bizarre pressures. Like it feels like something's pushing on you, but it's not. It feels like something's occupying space in that part of your body, but you know that that's not the case either. It can take the form of electricity, like shooting, pulsing, tingly, prickly, buzzing, that sort of bizarre electrical-esque sensation. I've also experienced like awkward tickling, like just tickling that feels off. Like feathery sensations. Finally, I think that nerve pain can feel like, I feel like nerve pain can feel like muscle pain. Like it can feel like tenderness or soreness, but it's way, way overly dramatic. Like it doesn't make sense. It feels like that part of your body should be black and blue, like beaten to a pulp. And you look at it and it feels terrible, but it looks fine. Whereas with back pain, I'm like, oh, my back is sore. It's like a 2 out of 10. That's what I'd expect. Nerve pain is like, this feels like I should be bright red and very raw, but I'm not. You know, just things don't quite add up. You can't really put 2 and 2 together with the way that that part of your body looks and the sensations that you're feeling. And I think the same is true of swelling too. I've certainly experienced feelings where I feel like I'm swollen, but then I go and I look and I'm certainly not swollen. So really, really hard to describe. And you find words that kind of describe it, but they don't really describe it because the language doesn't exist, but you go with those words anyway because they're as close as you're gonna get to describing nerve pain. You tell your friends things like, oh, I feel like I've got, for instance, screeching in my abdomen is something that I very genuinely have experienced, and I don't know how else to describe it. But when I say that to my friends, I'm like, oh, feels like a high-pitched yelling in my abdomen. None of my friends are like, me too. I've also had high-pitched screeching in my abdomen. You know, they can't really validate the experience because they haven't had nerve pain. And it doesn't follow a pattern, at least for me. And this is content that I will make later. I am so looking forward to being on the other side of this experience so that I can create the content that I think is so necessary around nerves and nerve healing and nerve pain and what to expect and that sort of thing. But just a quick note, nerve healing is painful and nerve healing is a scatter plot. It's not a linear progression like other muscle tissue, bony tissue, soft tissue, that sort of thing. I feel like when you injure a different part of your body, it tends to get better in a linear progression. You're 10% better one day, 20% better the next, 30 on up. Nerve healing, you have to collect data points, like a number of data points. And then you can say, oh, I can see that in the last 2 weeks I've been experiencing this much improvement. And now I can say that I'm actually that much improved, because otherwise it's just up and down kind of all over the place. So totally unpatterned unless you zoom really far out and look for a scatter plot type of pattern behavior as opposed to a linear pattern. So again, nerve pain in general, I think, is trickier to kind of find that pattern and easily piece together what's making it worse and what's making it better. And pain management, like I mentioned, pain management with nerve pain is trickier. It tends to, when you go down the pharmaceutical route, it tends to involve things like gabapentin or Neurontin, pre-GABA, which is Lyrica, or antidepressants, and regular things that you're used to using to make yourself feel better, like ice, like heat, like rest, like ibuprofen, that sort of thing. They don't really touch it. Much more challenging to manage the pain. And as another aside, I will talk more about this in a future video, but if you are experiencing nerve pain, I highly recommend doing some research and looking into Kratom. I'll put it here, Kratom. It significantly helped me manage pain when I was feeling quite a bit of nerve pain, and I can't speak highly enough about it. I did have to go through a couple of different strains and figure out what strain really ended up helping me, but it was something that I could take, I could manage my pain, feel better, and not feel too high, which was nice. So highly recommend taking a look at Kratom if the other pharmaceutical interventions aren't really giving you the kind of relief that you're looking for. So on that note, I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Muscle pain, familiar. Nerve pain, unfamiliar. Muscle pain, you can easily find the language to describe it. The descriptors you're using feel like you're doing the sensation justice. Nerve pain, hard to describe. Hard to describe, and you almost feel like you're compromising with the language. You're like, okay, this isn't quite what I'm experiencing, but it'll do. Muscle pain, your friends will validate you. My back feels tender. My elbow feels sore. And they're like, yeah, me too. I've also had tenderness and soreness. Nerve pain, not so much. Something that I've experienced. I say, oh yeah, I felt bees in my bladder. And they're like, not me. I've not experienced bees in my bladder. Muscle pain follows a pattern, gets better with rest. Nerve pain might follow a pattern, might not. Doesn't always get better with rest. Finally, pain management. Easier to manage muscle pain, tends to feel better with traditional pain management interventions. Nerve pain, not so much. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I'm excited to be experiencing this at such an intimate and personal level. I feel like once I'm on the other side of this, I can continue to use my experience to create content that I really wish was available, talking about nerves and nerve healing and nerve pain management, and the fact that nerves do heal because we talk about them like they don't, and that's just so frustrating to me. So happy to have created this requested video. If it was helpful for you, please feel free to share it, give it a thumbs up, comment anything down below, whether you have questions, comments, requests, things that you'd like to see on this channel. Let me know. I do try really hard to read and respond to all of my comments. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram, and finally, please subscribe to the channel, not only for videos about pelvic health and pelvic things, but also for videos about life things and just generally being a human. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.